Hello, everyone. This is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I hope you are all doing well. I'm happy to be back. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, I think a month maybe. I've been working on other projects, other responsibilities, my own mental health. I'm just trying to stabilize myself and my energy before I expel any more energy out into the universe on this platform. I do appreciate all of your comments, your well wishes, your feedback, your questions. I'm reading all of them. I just needed a break from this channel. I didn't feel like there was anything pertinent for me to discuss. There was a couple of topics, but again, other priorities got in the way. But I wanted to talk about this blow up on the Breakfast Club that took place yesterday. And there was some, controversy regarding the hosting situation with Jess Hilarious and Loren and the politics of corporate America, especially when it comes to not just Black women, but just people in general. So personally, I can understand what's going on from three vantage points. The vantage point of the corporation, the Breakfast Club, the brand itself, Loren's vantage point, and also Jess Hilarious's vantage point. And I have been on both sides of this situation. I've been where Loren is currently sitting, and I have been where Jess is currently sitting. So I do have some empathy for all parties involved, although I have more empathy for Loren than I do for Jess, but I'll explain why throughout this conversation. So I have been in Jess Hilarious's position before. About 15 years ago, I was hired at a job to replace someone who had been there for about 10 years. And this person was they played a pivotal role in helping the company to grow, but they left on good terms. They decided to leave to focus on their family, something like that. It was not a firing. They resigned, right? And this person was still close to the people who she worked with. So this company essentially waited an entire year before they hired me, and I was the only Black person in this organization. In hindsight, I was very happy to leave because there was a lot of racism there, but that's another conversation. So I remember 1 month to the day after I got hired at this job. It was around 8:20 in the morning. I just got there at 8 o'clock. I was studying for the day, reading emails, and all of a sudden I hear at the door, "Hey, oh my gosh, she's back," right? "Oh my God, what were you doing? What are you doing here?" Right? And apparently it was this old person who came back. Now, initially, she acted as if she didn't want her job back. I don't know what's going on. I've only been there for a month and I'm trying to learn the ropes. Now, to be honest, when I'm answering the phone calls and, answering emails, people are asking, the clients and the vendors are asking, where's this old employee, right? So obviously she was beloved, not just by the people she worked with, but also by the clients and the vendors. So again, I'm at a disadvantage for a variety of reasons. Race, experience, my closest to the organization. I didn't have the ties that she had to not only the people who owned the company, but to the clients and the vendors who were there. And also she was of the same tribe as them. If you guys know what I mean by tribe. Of the same religion, they were the same people. So I was the odd woman out. So after this lady came back, she never spoke one word to me. She acted like I didn't exist. Now, she would pop up and hang out at the office, pretending as if she didn't want her job back. But she was just there, lingering weirdly around. And I started to notice that I was receiving less and less work. And a month after she came back, they let me go. So again, in hindsight, I was happy that I left because it was a very racist place with a lot of microaggressions and people touching my hair and commenting about my clothes and how thin I was and all this other stuff. So I guess according to them, all Black women were supposed to wear weaves and be fat and loud. And that was not me, but it is what it is. So yeah, from that experience, I understand where Jess Hilarious is coming from and why she was frustrated with the Breakfast Club, with the organization. I don't know why she was upset with Loren. And here is why I had an issue with Jess Hilarious. I feel like Jess Hilarious was bullying Loren for being more competent than her. I have worked with women like Jess Hilarious before. I'm not saying that Jess Hilarious is a bad person who deserves to not have a job who deserves to be embarrassed or attacked. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that based on what I have seen of Jess Hilarious on the show, not on social media. I don't follow her on social media. She's not my type of personality, right? So based on what I've seen on the show, based on how she treated Loren, based on the fact that she got pregnant really quickly right after she got this job, which is like a very lucrative job and it's in a very competitive field. I kind of felt like she was not the right fit for the job, or she wasn't the best candidate for the job in the first place. And it wasn't because I know her personally, it's just because of the way of what we're seeing, of what some of us have always seen. I remember thinking to myself when Jess first got this job, like, why did they hire her? Why didn't they hire Lunel or another female personality who's been in the game for 20, 30, 40 years, paid their dues? Like, why would they hire her? In my opinion, she was one of the weakest candidates, but maybe she had the largest social media platform. Unfortunately, when you hire people or sign people or work with people or whatever because of social media, that's sort of a risk, because people on social media don't really gravitate towards quality for the most part. And I'm not trying to sound condescending. A lot of people on social media are attracted to the lowest common denominator in entertainment, which is like drama, fighting, low vibrational stuff, ignorance. And so when these corporations, they hire people based on social media clout, or they sign artists and entertainers based on social media clout, they're often disappointed because these people are popular, but it doesn't mean that they're actually talented at what they do. Or, it's not there yet, right? They need more development. I think Jess Hilarious has a lot of potential. I think that Loren's presence there is a blessing for her if she sees it that way. And she should take this opportunity to learn from Loren instead of trying to bully her, which is what she was doing. I'm hoping they resolve that issue. But it sounded like there were some microaggressions that were being targeted towards Loren from Jess Hilarious. Now, just to go back a little bit, okay? So I remember working at a job years ago, and I was hired to fix up this organization. I was hired to clean things up and get things together. And the moment my supervisor saw me, she did not like me. From the very second she saw me, I didn't say anything. Now, when I first meet people, I always meet people with a smile. I'm always very gregarious, very warm, very attentive, supportive, loving, nurturing. That's my natural personality. So I did not understand why this was what it was, why the dynamic was what it was. And at some point, this supervisor tried to sabotage me by way of giving me all of their work, trying to overwhelm me with their work, and not showing up and kind of forcing me to do everything by myself, which I did with flying colors. And then the jealousy and the animosity got even worse, because not only am I coming in with less experience, to be fair, but I'm not a dummy, right? And I'm a quick learner, and I'm very creative. And I like to work, and I work really hard. So I'm coming in with all these things, and I've actually done what I was supposed to do with flying colors, and I'm doing your job too. The whole time, I'm very patient. I'm very supportive. I'm very compassionate and empathetic towards my supervisor because I understand how she feels to an extent. Just like Loren was empathetic towards Jess Hilarious, she handled it the way that I would have, and I have done in the past, right? I'm not here to take your job. I'm just here to do my job to make your job easier. That's all I'm here to do. However, what ended up happening was that my supervisor tried to sabotage me by essentially giving me all the work and overwhelming me and not training me, whatever. But I told myself what it was. It's not that complicated. It wasn't that serious. When you really want to do something, you'll figure it out. And so I'm doing everybody's job for not any more money. It's just what it was. But even still, Charlamagne said something very interesting yesterday. He told Jess that he thought that she was using Loren. That was a very poignant statement. To me, when Charlamagne said that, it felt like, in his mind, I felt like he was saying that he knew that Jess was coasting. We could all see she was coasting. She wasn't putting in as much effort as she should have or could have for that position. Mind you, yes, we know that she was pregnant for most of the time that she's been working there, and postpartum depression and maternity, I get it. We all get that. But I was reading the comments on forums and on YouTube, and most women were like, why would you get pregnant so soon after getting this job? Most women were saying that. That is considered a cardinal sin in any job. Corporate America, Burger King, doesn't matter, right? Women have to prove their value to an organization before they have kids, because maternity leave and having a baby is a whole different dynamic. Now you have to prove that you're worth keeping as an employee, because you're gonna have to ask for some grace. You may be late sometimes, right? You may not be able to show up because of childcare situations, so the baby's sick. You need to put in the sweat equity. You need to have some sort of investment in the company or skin in the game for them to justify keeping you there after you having a baby. So for her to have this child so quickly was, in my opinion, a miscalculation. Yes, all babies are blessings, and I love babies, so I will never say a baby's a mistake in that regard. However, it was a miscalculation on her part, and I think that she thought she was bigger than the organization, or she thought that she was more important than she was because of a social media clout. She thought that they needed her more than she needed them, and that is not the case. My issue with Jess was the fact that she tried to bully Loren into not being who she is, just so that she can save face, so she won't look as bad. This is what I was upset about a couple months ago when I talked about the Democratic Party and what happens with these politicians and the so-called Black excellence class that rewards mediocrity and that punishes people for doing their job. I have a real big issue working for people or with people like Jess Hilarious. I'm not saying she's a bad person outside of work, but as an employee or coworker, I would not want to work with her. Because Jess Hilarious was intimidated by Loren, she made the work environment uncomfortable. And Charlamagne even said, I thought you were using her. And to me, was he saying that, because this happened to me before too. Okay, she's so good at what she does. Let her do everything. I'm still going to get paid anyway. I'll still get a full check. I'll let her do my job too, since she's all that, right? I think that is the attitude that Charlamagne thought that Jess Hilarious had towards Loren, which I have seen before and experienced myself. But that usually backfires. When you're dealing with somebody who's really experienced or relatively intelligent or talented or passionate about their work, if you give this person your work, even though your life is easier and you're acting as if this person is your servant and you're a slave and you're still getting paid the same amount of money to do nothing all day, at some point, that person will become more powerful than you. They'll have more leverage over you because now they'll know more about the organization. They'll be more skilled and more experienced. People will want to, work with them, right? You're kind of essentially pushing yourself out of the organization. You're making yourself less relevant by allowing someone else to do your job. I do think it is odd that Jess Hilarious would take on, or she would replace Angela Yee, and Angela Yee was an actual journalist. Journalists read and write. Why would they pick someone who doesn't read and write to replace a reader and a writer? That doesn't make any sense. So from the vantage point of iHeartRadio, they're getting a 2-for-1 deal. I'm not sure if they were paying Loren more money to do this extra segment because she's supposed to be, I think, a senior producer in the background, right? She wasn't supposed to be in the room with them. She wasn't supposed to be the star. And I'm not sure, right? But if she wasn't getting paid more money and she's doing two people's jobs, that is also putting Jess at a disadvantage. Now she has more leverage because she's willing to do more work for less money, right? What do we need her for? And on top of that, this is where social media clout backfires. Because the same social media that Jess Hilarious leveraged to get this position was the very same social media that was going to take her power from her when they saw that someone else was more qualified than she is, was better at her job than she is. Now, I'm not a hater. A few years ago, a lot of the people who watch my channel were suggesting that I interview some of the members of Love Marriage Huntsville. And I explicitly stated that I did not want to do that because there were other people who were better at that job, who would be more interested in doing that, who went to school for it. I don't want to step in anybody's lane, and that's not my lane, right? I might say I wouldn't do a good job of it. I would try my best. But you have to know where your lane is. You have to play up your gifts, and you also have to work on some of your challenges. I think that Jess Hilarious took this job for granted, which I think is high-key disrespectful. toward the other women who have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and who would have loved to have this job. They would have been better at it than she is. And for her to come into work half-assed, thinking that her personality and her connections to Charlemagne was going to garner her more favor when there's someone else who's right next to her who's doing a better job than she is, I think she took the job for granted. And this is a blessing in disguise for her if they decide to keep her. So now you want to put the whole organization on blast, try to bully them and manipulate them into keeping you there by way of using social media to garner some sort of sympathy. I didn't like that at all. I did not like that. Okay? I'm not saying Jess is a bad person. I'm saying she has a lot of growing to do. She's still very immature. And I think that she took this opportunity for granted. Since Jess Hilarious has been gone, like when she went on maternity leave, they had other female co-hosts there, guest hosts. They all killed it. They were all better than she is at this. But I think they have less followers on social media. And that is why Jess is still there. But unfortunately for her, she took things for granted. And now people are seeing, okay, this person is way more appropriate for this position. I do think that there's an opportunity for Loren and Jess to work together. But again, I don't appreciate Jess's attitude and her microaggressions and her bullying. She was bullying Loren. I've seen it myself, right? I've experienced that. I know what she was going through. When the energy in the room shifts and changes into be more hostile or acrimonious, when you walk into a room, that's bullying. That's a microaggression, okay? When you tell somebody to hush and be quiet and you have attitude with them and whatever, that's a hostile work environment. Yes, I understand why Jess is triggered. I get that. But perhaps they didn't want to tell her what their plans were because they knew that she would react and respond the way that she did. And they didn't want to be seen as penalizing her for having a baby less than a year after getting a new job. So I understand their point of view too. But again, this is a corporation. This is a brand. Jess Hilarious did not build the Breakfast Club. Charlemagne did. Envy did. Envy can coast. I don't even know why Envy's there. He's just there because he's helped to build the brand. And maybe he's allowed some of his personal life to be, used as fodder for the show. I have no other reason why. I don't know any other reason why he would be there, honestly. But he's there. And honestly, he's put in the work. He's helped to build the brand. Charlemagne is the face of the show. He is the voice of the show. So of course he's going to be there. He's going to show up every day. Charlemagne was Wendy Williams' protege. So he knows how to do radio. I think Jess Hilarious needs to learn and be more open to learning and not think that because she has all these followers on social media, it means a damn thing. That doesn't mean anything when it comes to real talent. It does not. It means you're popular, but there are a lot of people who are popular who are really ridiculous, who are clowns. I'm not saying she's a clown. I'm saying that, again, people on social media tend to gravitate towards the lowest common denominator. Ignorance, violence, dysfunction, etc., etc. And so maybe the Breakfast Club thought that she would bring in more viewers, but she ain't reading. She's not there. You've lost your leverage. And someone else is here. Now, okay. Now, just go back, just to be fair. There are some occasions where you could be the best at your job, right? You have the most experience, you're professional, you're this, that, and the third, but someone else comes in and they can do your job for cheaper. They're cheaper than you. That's all a company needs. Can she do everything this person is doing? Can you train her to replace you for cheaper? That happens all the time. That's very painful. I do have empathy for Jess when it comes to that. Yes, she was being gaslit and low-key being replaced on the show. I think what saved her behind was the public blowout, but I think her days are numbered. I'm not sure if her contract will be renewed. I don't know. But there has to be a way, or there should be a way for Loren and Jess to work together. I do think that this was not handled well by the higher-ups, HR management, Charlemagne. It wasn't handled well. They were trying to sneak Loren in. However, Jess was also playing hooky. I know she has other obligations and children and this, that, and the third, and she's a comedian that goes on the road. But I think she was just clocking it in. I think she was coasting. Charlemagne also peeped that, which is why he said what he said about her using Loren. Because Jess trusts Loren to an extent. Loren does not come off as a cutthroat, as someone who is, cutthroat. She doesn't come off that way. And I think that Jess would have rathered Loren sit in for her when she was gone than somebody else from the outside who has no connection to the organization, doesn't care about her at all, who would take her job in a heartbeat. I think, and I could be wrong, that Jess was using Loren to do all her work and she was still getting paid. And listen, I have seen this in real life. I've experienced it. My younger sister, who's also an Aquarius, is also going through this right now, but she's the Loren in the situation, right? So yeah, in the beginning, it's cute to give the new person all of your work so you can just get paid to do nothing. But in the end, that person will elevate themselves off of your incompetence, off of your laziness, off of your sneakiness. They will do that. So just be careful about doing that. Jess Hilarious, in my opinion, felt threatened by Loren because she knew she was half-assing it. She knew she wasn't doing her best. That's why she was intimidated or insecure, even more so. Yes, again, what the Breakfast Club was doing was kind of sneaky. It was sneaky. But, there would be no room for her to sneak in if you were there doing your job. Period. So I think Jess Hilarious thought that she was bigger than the program. She thought that her social media clout meant that she had some sort of leverage she didn't have. They need me. I bring in. No, you don't bring in enough. You don't do enough. You're just getting paid to do nothing. There's so many other women, Black women in entertainment, who would appreciate that job, and you're just shitting on it. So now the audience, not other women in social media, not other entertainers, right? Not people in that space, but the very fan base or the very people who put Jess Hilarious on a pedestal by giving her social media clout, they're now tearing her down. That's why she's so focused on social media. And Charlamagne and Envy are like, oh no, don't focus on them. But she knows that's why she got hired. There's no other reason why she was chosen over other more talented, harder working, older, experienced people, women, comedians. There's no other reason besides her social media following. And she knows that. And she knows that once social media turns on her, it's over because that is what has validated her. Social media created her and it's going to tear her down if she doesn't get it together. However, the silver lining is this. She has an opportunity to learn now. Loren can help her to learn and grow and develop into a better entertainer, a better person. Because again, it's not fair to bully someone for being better at you at something or doing their damn job. That was very triggering for me. I would have had an issue with that. I would not want to work with someone who was intimidated by me doing my damn job. Especially if I'm a nice person and I'm sweet. Loren seems to be really sweet. If Loren was like Jess Hilarious, it would have been over. It would have been fights and drama all up and down. Loren would have probably had Jess fired at some point, right? But Loren is a very sweet person. She's confident in herself. The best bosses I've ever had were women who were really intelligent, really educated, and confident in themselves because of that. The worst bosses I've had were lazy and insecure because they were lazy and also insecure because they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't care about the job as much. And somebody else comes in and does what they're doing better than them. At first, it's cute and a joke. Yeah, I'm here chilling. She's doing my job for me. I'm home with my whatever. And she here doing whatever and not getting paid extra money for it. Turn around. Now everybody's calling for you. They're asking for you. They've kind of removed themselves from the equation, playing monkey games. So you play monkey games, you win monkey prizes. Congratulations. So instead of, just giving Loren all of her work to do as far as the news reporting and the notes, and you can't even read the notes. She's doing all this work for you. You can't even read. You're not even doing that. Now you're mad at her for what? I don't like women like that or people like that in general. There's no self-awareness here. So again, it's not me throwing salt and shade at Jess because I'm jealous. No, it's not that. I can see why she would be upset, but also I see why the Breakfast Club did what they did and why Loren is not at fault here. I have more empathy for Loren than I do for Jess. Jess is very immature. And I think she takes things for granted because she has maybe had a lot of favor when it comes to money. It's easy for her to make money or to make connections, whatever. She's fortunate in that regard. And when you don't have to work for certain things or work hard for certain things, you take it for granted. Oh, the money comes easy. It's always going to be easy. And then someone else comes in with more muscles. Although Jess Hilarious has more social media clout than Loren, but Loren has more muscles. She's had to work really hard to get to where she is. Yes, in the entertainment industry and in every job or any job, most jobs in general, your network is your net worth. Absolutely. However, you could tell that Loren does this for real. It's not a joke for her. It's not play. It's not a side hustle. It's not something to just put on her belt to say, I'm on the Breakfast Club. I'm that girl. But you ain't doing shit. pardon my French, you're not doing anything. It's disrespectful because that job is a 1 in a million job, an opportunity, and you're squandering it. This is what happens, and I mentioned in astrology when you have a lot of trines in your chart, right? Jess Lawrence has a lot of earth in her chart. Money comes to her easily. People who usually make money easily don't either value it, don't appreciate it, or don't know how to maintain it or manage it. They don't. So she's good at making money. Opportunities come to her, but she takes them for granted. And that's why she's here now. And so she has to be very careful about that. Again, this is a blessing for her because she has the opportunity to learn from Loren to be a better employee and take her job more seriously. Stop being intimidated by people who are doing their job. Have I ever worked with anybody who was like better at me at my job? I have, but they were all my bosses and I loved watching them. I loved listening to them. I loved learning from them. Would I hire a subordinate who knows more than me? Yes, I would hire a subordinate or someone to work with me who knows more than me because we are working as a team. When you're working in a company, the goal should always be what's best for the company, not your ego. Jess Hilarious wanted this job for her ego in the bag. She didn't really care about the integrity of the work she was doing. Loren cares about the quality of the user experience, of the audience experience. She cares about teaching and informing and doing her research. Jess Hilarious got that job because she just wanted to pay her bills and look good on social media. You could tell. She doesn't care about it. Like a lot of people who have jobs, they're just there to get a check and, and then to flex on other people. I got this high-paying job. I'm the head of the DNC. I'm the vice president of the United States. They don't care about the actual work itself. That's my issue. And I'm so happy that we're having this conversation now. Now, maybe people understand why I had so much smoke for the Black community a couple months ago, Democratic Party, and the culture of mediocrity that they've cultivated for the past several decades, right? And I mentioned us needing a Black supremacy. We need a supremacy doctrine of our own, being the best that we can be at these, whatever, our jobs, our relationships, our businesses, doing that. Even if it's not perfect, you're doing the best you can do in the time that you have, with the resource that you have. You could tell that Jess was doing the bare minimum. Energy-wise, content, conversation, dead air, nothing's going, like this is nothing. It's very disrespectful, and that's why a lot of people were like, nah, you gotta go. Even the people who were supposedly her fans, they were like, you gotta go. And again, I was like, why would they hire her in the first place? Before I even saw what was going on in the show, I'm like, why would they hire her? She's so fortunate to get that job. And she probably thought that whatever she did to get that job was enough for her to stay, right? Oh, she's cool with Charlamagne. And this another thing too. With people who are personality hires who don't do their job, here's why I get so tight about this and I get triggered and heated and irritated about it. The people who don't do their jobs, they kiss up to the bosses, usually. They kiss up to the boss, right? And by kissing up to the boss, they kind of shield themselves from any sort of criticism or accountability. So what they'll do is they will gain favor with supervisors or bosses or higher ups, right? For cover, to not be held accountable. So that when they're bullying you or me, they don't have to pay for that. They're cool with the boss. The boss is okay with them being half-ass. And then you're punished for calling them out on their mess. And this is another thing too. It's like what ends up happening is that here's why Jess got triggered by Loren. Because a lot of these spaces, people don't want to do work. They just show up to get paid. They don't have a good work ethic. If somebody comes in with a good work ethic, they force you to work harder. They force you to work harder. And if you're working harder and not getting paid more, then you're going to have an issue. But you weren't supposed to get paid in the first place because you weren't doing your job. That is the crux of the issue. You're forcing me to work harder for the same amount of money that I was making by not working at all. Now I got a problem with you. Now you got to go. Now I'm mad at you for what I'm not doing. Even though I was using you to do my job, right? You were covering for me when I was out doing whatever, not coming to work, not building my relationship with this organization, not putting in any equity. You were covering for me. It was cool then. She was cool with that dynamic until the audience was like, yo, why isn't she the full-time hire? That always happens. That always happens if you're like a visible person, if you're dealing with the public. They can see you now. You're not in the back offices anymore, hiding away in a dark office, doing all the work while Jess gets all the credit. And she didn't even want to do that because she didn't want to read the notes that Loren was giving her. So you're like, okay, here's all the L's that Jess created for herself. The first L, not being the best candidate in the first place. Now you're at a disadvantage. First L. Second L, getting pregnant so soon after getting this job. Second L. Third L, when you're there, you're half-assing it. You're just punching it in. You're not really engaged. You're not adding much to the conversation. You're not doing much. Fourth L, you're absent a lot of times. Fifth L, there's somebody who's with you. You're not learning from them. You're taking advantage of them, so you think, but you're not learning them to make you a better employee and a better person. This is a job. It's not a hangout spot. Yes, Charlamagne's a clown, but he takes his work seriously. He learned from the best. Wendy Williams is one of the best. He was blessed with that experience. And he knew that. I think he was an intern. Was he getting paid for that job? Was Charlamagne getting paid to work with Wendy Williams as an intern? He damn sure wasn't getting paid as much as Jess Hilarious is. And he took that job more seriously than she is as an intern. So Charlamagne knows what it is. He said, I thought you were using her. Very perceptive cancer. Yes, she probably was using her at first. Oh yeah, I got this in the bag. I ain't gotta show up. She'll still do my job and I'm still getting paid. Until the very same people who you used as leverage to get this position are now turning on you saying there's somebody better than you here. Now you're triggered and you're mad at the wrong person. Instead of being mad at her, be mad at yourself for doing that. So again, no shade to Jess Hilarious. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm not Corey Holcomb, who has an axe to grind with her and every other woman in the world. Corey Holcomb is extremely bitter towards women. So yes, whatever he said about Jess, it was accurate to an extent, but Corey is a very bitter person. He's bitter because of his own stuff going on. I'm not gonna get into that right now. But yeah, that's why this whole thing got blown up in the first place, because Corey Holcomb was saying what everybody else was saying. And Corey Holcomb has a big platform too, and a big mouth. And he's had an axe to grind with Jess for many years. And now, at first it was, oh yeah, Corey is nobody, he's irrelevant. But he's echoing the sentiments of the very audience who put you on this platform in the first place. And you disrespected them by not showing up the way you should have. In this economy, in that industry, that job is a 1 in a million opportunity, and you got that relatively easily. You didn't put in the decades of work like Lunel or Claudia Jordan. You're in your early 30s. How long have you been doing this? There are women who've worked harder, who are more talented than you, and you're out here bullshitting. You should feel some kind of way, not towards Loren, but towards yourself. Do better. Again, to be fair, the Breakfast Club should have handled it differently. They should have been more professional about it and more transparent about their plans. But I don't even think they knew what was going on themselves. I think they were testing Loren out too. It was a trial basis, perhaps, right? To see how she would fit in that dual role. It's like one person for two jobs. So they're saving money, right? What if she's making I'm just throwing numbers out there, $250 a year as a senior news producer, and then she's getting paid an extra $50 to do Jess's spot, right? But Jess is getting paid $3 something to do that by her. I don't know how much they're getting paid, but they could be saving money by having her do two jobs and do it really well. She has a personality, the temperament, the intellect, the training, the experience, everything. And Jess is just a social media person that was, granted blessings and opportunities that she took for granted. And so now there's a fire lit under her ass. So I am happy that Charlamagne and Envy gave Jess some grace. I don't know how the Breakfast Club, the company, iHeartRadio is going to, I don't know what they're going to do though, honestly. I don't know. It's up to them at this point. She put them on blast and said she's happier outside of work anyway. So F it. I'm like, yo, you talking a lot of smack for somebody who's contributed nothing to this organization and making all this money. A lot of smack for someone who's not even the best candidate, who's been here for less than a year, and you've been gone for more than you've been here. A lot of smack. You're very entitled. That's what they're probably thinking. So I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully she's learned from this and she'll have an opportunity to grow with Loren and be a better employee, a better person, a better friend. I think Jess said she got Loren that job, right? But you didn't make Loren. Just because you got Loren that job doesn't mean you made her. She proved her worth. She belongs there. I put you here. Yeah, because you didn't think she was a threat to you. Because she's nice and professional and quiet. She's not cutthroat like you seem to be. So you felt like, yeah, I'm going to have her do my job for me. I'll get paid. It's like somebody, cheating on their tests. Having somebody do their homework for them. They're still getting the credit for the grades, but you're not developing as a person. And now somebody else comes in and they can do your job better than you, and you're triggered by that. Whose fault is that? That's not Loren's fault. So I see it from all 3 points of view. I get why Jess is upset, but she's upset because of herself. That's all on her. If she was doing the best that she could have done, and she was showing up and did it, and then that's different. There wouldn't even be a space for Loren if she was doing her job. But the fact that it's like when somebody says you give someone so much space, you give your partner too much space, someone else will fill that space for you. She left a whole void there because of her lack of professionalism, her lack of contribution to the organization, her lack of engagement. It's like, why are you even here? You're not even contributing anything. Oh, you got this job because you wanted the clout, right? You wanted to brag about it on social media. You didn't really care about this as a career like Loren does. There's a difference between people who want to sing to be famous and people wanting to sing because they love to sing. A big difference. So this is why I personally don't care about social media clout. I don't care. I don't care if a million people like me. I don't care about that because most people are very fickle and you don't even know who's following you. People could be following you and they hate you the whole time. I'm not doing that. I don't care. So I'll be gone for whenever. I'll be gone. I don't care about growing this channel to be a huge platform like that. I'm just here to vent sometimes and express my emotions and maybe give guidance to people in certain situations from my point of view as an older person. But, my validation doesn't come from what people say about me or to me. So I don't have a problem clapping back occasionally if I have to, because I don't care about being liked on this space. I want to be honest about what's going on and how I feel about it. So yeah, it was a great, I'll be honest. If I was the Breakfast Club, I would license that argument or that conflict, that conversation to corporations for HR training. How to deal with conflict resolution. They always have these HR trainings for conflict resolution, courageous conversations about, race and politics and things of that nature. That would be they could license that video out and use that to show how do you diffuse tension in the workplace. Well, why was there tension in the first place, right? Jess Hilarious mentioned that the Breakfast Club is like East Side High. And I'm like, yeah, and you're one of the East Side High bullies. Her behavior was very high school. Mad at the wrong people, not wanting to do your work, trying to coast on personality and popularity, having the smarter girl do your work for you and still get all the credit. Similar dynamic. So you fit right in. That's why they hired you, right? All right, guys. If I offended anybody, I apologize, but you'll be okay. I look forward to reading your feedback. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.